Hi everyone, I'm Ashley with Encore Event Design and you're watching Encore TV. Today we have the honor of talking with a beautiful bride named Carrie who has been planning her wedding during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we also were just curious to talk to a future bride as to why she decided to hire a planner or a day of coordinator. So hi Carrie, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So could you just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your upcoming wedding, your fiance's name, and how the two of you met?
So my name's Carrie. My fiance is Eric. We actually met right before the start of our sophomore year at Clarion University, and so we've been dating for like 8 years now, ready to get married.
Wonderful. How long have you been engaged?
Almost a year.
Okay, wonderful. Very exciting. So when is your big day?
It was supposed to be this past Saturday, May 2nd. We ended up postponing, obviously, to July 11th of this year.
Okay, wonderful. Very exciting. So where are you going to have all your wedding and the celebrations?
So our ceremony is at St. Benedict's in Peters Township, and our reception is at Shady Elms in Hickory.
Very cool. That's exciting. So can you tell us a little bit about how your wedding planning has gone this far?
It actually was like relatively smooth up until mid-March when we decided to postpone. And since then, it's kind of been hectic just trying to get everybody to like respond to our emails and try and keep everybody updated through everything. But the first 10 months was okay. It was pretty smooth.
So how has the coronavirus impacted your wedding?
Obviously postponing, but honestly trying to talk to vendors in a time when you don't know if people are in the office or if they're working from home or like when they're available. That's been our biggest obstacle is just getting people to respond to stuff and trying to make sure that we have backup plans for our backup plans. And really we said it's kind of like planning in free fall, like stuff is just constantly changing that we have to deal with on a regular basis at this point.
So have your vendors been responsive with, you reaching out, or is it just kind of waiting till they get back? Because pretty much with the pandemic, everything shut down, especially with weddings or events. It's at a standstill. So how has that been kind of?
Luckily our venue is a family-run business, so like they are working from home, they're working pretty regularly, but trying to get in contact with everybody else, like our linen rentals and our china rentals, that's kind of just sporadic. When we changed our date, it was before the stay-at-home order started, so we were able to like at least contact everybody at that point, but since then it's kind of been like we wait a week to 2 weeks for a response. Usually they're positive, but just the waiting is killer.
Right. Especially with so much to do, you just want to kind of get things crossed off your list and everything. So did you decide to change your date just kind of in preparation for what might come, or before the stay-at-home order you mentioned you changed your date, but was it just kind of a plan B to?
It was we were getting nervous, and the CDC was starting to talk about limiting gatherings, so like 50 people or less, and obviously our guest list was bigger than that. And then my brother, he's in the Air Force, he's stationed in New Mexico. He was told he wouldn't be able to travel until the end of June, and that's kind of when we decided that this was real and it was coming. So we just kind of preemptively postponed stuff so that we weren't dealing with everybody else that was postponing as stuff started to get worse.
Right. So was there anything you had to sacrifice as you planned your wedding, thinking of, the pandemic, or anything that you were just kind of like, we're willing to do this, but not this?
I don't think we really sacrificed anything. We've definitely changed stuff. We had to change a few vendors because they didn't have dates available, but like we had interviewed a whole bunch of vendors when we started. So we just kind of went like down the list with other people we had talked to. We are pretty sure that we'll have to sacrifice like all of our friends being able to be there. Like we know some people won't be comfortable traveling. But as far as like my vision for our wedding, stuff hasn't had to change that much.
Great. Were there anything that you'd be willing to share with us that you weren't willing to change, like with your vision? Like what were you, what was your vision for the day? And is that still kind of guiding you through this?
So I really wanted to get married in a warm month. So like May was the ideal. July is going to be a little bit hot, but it's still warm. And honestly, we want to get married this year. So if it comes down to it, we'll just be doing a small ceremony with like us and having a party later. So I guess the timing of our day might be different. Like it might just be a small wedding and a big celebration later, but we aren't there yet.
Okay. How many guests are you planning for?
About 200.
Okay, so that's a nice size.
Yeah.
How has it been communicating with your guests, friends, and family about the updates and the changes? You mentioned that it was a little bit a struggle, but have you found a way to kind of get all that information out to everyone to be on the same page?
So we did send an updated invitation out, and then we kind of just put on that invitation, like check our wedding website for the most up-to-date details, and we've updated that as needed. And honestly, like Facebook, we've put out a few posts to all of our guests that like, hey, this is what's happening now, like check back for updates. And then word of mouth, really, like we kind of split it up, like Eric deals with his family, I deal with my family, my mom deals with like her friends.
Okay, so that's a nice way to split it up and get everyone.
Yeah, divide and conquer.
Yeah, divide and conquer. So is there any other feedback you might, or insight that you might want to give other couples who are planning their wedding on ways to communicate with guests? Like you mentioned Facebook and kind of divide and conquer, but anything else that really worked for you?
I mean, I know people are looking at our wedding website because we changed the time of our mass, and like somebody that I didn't think would check it regularly, like made a comment about it. So on it, just keep all that stuff on your wedding website, like up to date, and let people know that it's out there.
Great, thank you. So can you tell us why you decided to hire a wedding planner for your wedding?
So originally I was not planning on hiring a wedding planner. I was like, I got this. I'm like type A, I can plan all day. But then when we were meeting with vendors, they were like, okay, and who can we contact the day of? And I was like, well, I'm not going to be glued to my cell phone all day. Like, I don't want to be answering these people's calls. Plus, my mom was going to have to take on like a lot of the cleanup and the setup between the ceremony and the reception. And like, I didn't want her to have to deal with that either. So then we started looking at day of coordinators to kind of just deal with all of that for us.
Great. So you hired a day of coordinator. How have they helped you with the planning? I know they don't do all of the planning, but have they stepped in to kind of help contact vendors, or how else have they helped you along this process?
We're really lucky. Like our planner has gone above and beyond. Originally, when our wedding was supposed to be at Noah's, she was kind of reaching out to Noah's for us. And then when Noah's closed, she had a 1-week-old baby, and she was with us calling all of our vendors, like to see where we could have our reception. And if there's anything that I've been like uncomfortable with, like talking to a vendor about a plan B, she hasn't been hesitant to be like, I'll handle it. I'll talk to them and like let you know what's going on. Because like there is, when you're changing stuff, there is like some uncomfortable, like, is this going to cost me more? Am I going to have to sacrifice stuff? And she's just kind of dealt with all of that for me.
Yeah, great. So you had your wedding scheduled for Noah's, and then
Yes.
you had to change the venue, and then the pandemic. So
Yeah.
you really kind of have.
Yeah, this has been like the least desirable situation, I think, but in the end, I think it'll just make our wedding day like that much more special. Like we put up with so much to get here, and then we have this. So,
Right. What were your thoughts when you first heard that Noah's was canceling, or bankrupt and they closed?
So I was at work. It was like the middle of the day on a Friday, and I called Eric, and I was like, "Hey, Noah's is closing," and he's like, "Okay, well, like come home, we'll figure it out." And we were kind of panicking for like 2 hours. Then we cried a little, and then I was like, okay, what do we have to do? And that's when we called our wedding coordinator, and we just started calling everybody that we could think of, all the venues that we had heard of, everything. And we were lucky to find Shady Elms, but it was kind of just like, well, this is happening, so how do we deal with it?
Right. That's a great mindset, to be very positive and everything. Was May 2nd your date for, with Noah's, and then?
Yeah, May 2nd was our date with Noah's, and then we were able to get Shady Elms too.
Okay. And then had to switch because of the pandemic and everything. I have a cousin getting married July 11th, so that'll be a beautiful day for sure too. So.
Hopefully. Yeah.
So how has your experience been working with your day of coordinator?
Honestly, she's fantastic. If there's something that I think of. Like, I'm like, oh, I would really like this kind of archway behind like our head table. She's like, well, let me see what I can come up with. And she just like has these options for me. And it has like really helped my vision come to life without stressing me out. Like, how am I going to do this? Like, I see what I want, and she like figures out how to make it happen.
Great, that's wonderful. So can you
Yeah.
offer any other tips or words of wisdom for any couples who might be getting married or planning a wedding during this time to kind of calm their fears, or anything that you'd like to tell couples as they plan their wedding?
So we had like our own little, we obviously celebrated on May 2nd still, and that kind of opened our eyes. Like, it's not about like how your wedding is or how your reception is. It's about like the people that you share it with, and it's about your future spouse. So like, don't let the details, especially the stuff that you can't control right now, stress you out. Like, just focus on like why you're getting married and like the person you're marrying.
Yeah. How did you celebrate on May 2nd? Did you have a nice little ceremony, or what did you do special?
So our photographer started offering porch portraits.
Okay.
So we had her come by and we popped some champagne, and actually like my sister and my mom and a few other people like stopped by to surprise us. So we had like a socially distant, just like a little celebration to acknowledge the day. And then now we have some photos to like remember what that day was like. So
Well, that's great. And I think looking back, you'll see like, wow, everything that we went through, it was a beautiful day
yeah,
overall, and you get to celebrate May 2nd and July 11th with
yeah, that's
Very
what we're hoping for.
well, thank you so much for your time today.
No
We
problem.
really appreciate it. And thank you for talking with us about your experience and your wedding plans, and why you're happy that you hired a wedding planner. And we thank you for your time. And we do have Encore Event TV every Wednesday. So check us
Yep.
out on Facebook or Instagram. And we hope to see everyone soon. Thank you.